Just like that.
Everybody, it's Old School Heart back with another video for you guys. So today's video is going to be on episode 2 of the New Edition movie that is on BET right now. If you haven't already gotten a chance, please go back and watch episode 1 review that I did January 24th yesterday. So
if you haven't already gotten a chance to, please also check out the other videos that I have. Reviews on Queen Sugar, Nate Parker versus Tyler Perry, Solange. All those reviews are available for you to watch. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And please share this video on Facebook, on Instagram, and wherever you can.
So let's just get into this video. Now, if you watch review 1, then you already know what I'm going to say about review of episode 2. I told you guys that Mike was going to be the leader of the group. And I told you he is similar to Otis Williams in the Temptations. And I will say this, guys, I was just saying that off the top of my head. Actually, I had seen a couple of documentaries behind the scenes on New Edition, and none of them have really said that Mike was the leader. So when I was watching the movie and the way that Mike was carrying himself and the way that he was as a child, I knew eventually like Mike was going to have a pivotal role in the group. And in episode 2, that is what we see. We see Mike actually making moves for the group. Now, let's just do like a recap, and then I'll get into some other stuff and what I'm thinking will happen in episode 3. So basically, episode 3 really has to do with Bobby Brown being the David Ruffin of the group. And it's funny, like every boy group has a really, really talented person in the group, but is the rebel of the group, does not know how to stay in the group, does not know how to communicate effectively, and has a hard time following through with, I won't say authority, but being a part of a group is really, really hard when you are the rebel. And he reminds me of David Ruffin, Bobby Brown does. That same destructive, self-destructive type behavior in David Ruffin you see with Bobby Brown. So you see Bobby Brown basically getting arrested for driving a car without a license or registration or anything like that, which is something like for a while that he continuously went to court for. You also see him doing cocaine. So you see all this similar behavior that David Ruffin, and even if you wanted to go there with the character Eddie Kane Jr., you also saw, I don't know if a lot of you guys watched an Unsung, but the stylistics said that they had somebody in their group that was very similar as well. So you see that a lot in boys groups where you have somebody that's really, really talented, but doesn't know how to work well in the group, does not know how to communicate effectively, and does not know how to stay the line. And that's not to say that they're not good people. It's just to say that it's groups may work for them initially, but they need the freedom to be by themselves. And that's what I see with Bobby, and that's what I saw with David Ruffin. Super, super talented, but you see that also. We also see Bobby Brown have his first kid, and you see the issue that ends up happening between him and the manager in regards to that. The manager is trying to keep their image super, super clean, that teen pop perfect like image, and Bobby Brown really just does not fit it. He is the rebel of the group. You also see Ralph pretty much have one similar issue with Bobby Brown, and that is that he had also a girl pregnant at the time. But because the manager really, really liked him, and because he was the lead singer, the manager really kind of kissed his ass, even though he really should have been treated him exactly like he treated Bobby. Like, Same issue, but Ralph was very quiet about what he did and very discreet, and I think that was a difference. Bobby was unapologetic, and I think dealing with anybody that's unapologetic can be a headache. And you see the manager express the ulcers, the stomach issues, all of the issues that he's having trying to keep the group together and deal with Bobby. You also see Bobby be sort of an antagonist to Mike Bivens in the beginning of the show, and they end up in a scuffle. And y'all, did y'all see that spit that Mike spit on? Like, I could see that spit from Mike's mouth to the limo on Bobby Brown, and I would have knocked Mike all the way out, even though he was pretty much getting on Mike's nerves and had already struck a nerve with Mike. Nobody deserves spit. And Mike literally tries to kill him. And so at the beginning, that is what you see. You see the manager saying that this is the type of behavior that shouldn't be allowed and they should kick Mike out of the group, and, just trying to kick him out of the group. But the one thing that I like about New Edition is they were like, look, you don't make that type of decision. We make those type of decisions. And Bobby Brown even said he stays, like, we'll get through this. It's not a big issue. And basically, this is where you also see where the manager is really about money and not about making sure these boys stay together. He's not realizing that these boys have been with each other for years. They have been with each other since they were kids. So to even try to just say that, oh, you can kick this person out of the group, oh, you could do this, or it doesn't matter, he needs to go. It's not that easy when you have been around that person, that you have had a childhood friendship with that person. It's not that easy, and Bobby makes that very clear that he was not kicking out Mike. And so Mike comes back into the studio and records his part for Mr. Telephone Man, and him and Bobby squash the issue. Meanwhile, the moms get together, and Bobby's mom in particular is like, look, this time, we picked the right manager. This time we picked the right person. We're not going to be screwed again. I already know. I feel it. Those boys have been working hard. They're most definitely do something. And the mothers are pretty much like, well, who made her the spokesperson? Like, we didn't even say she was a spokesperson. And, basically, Bobby's mom is just talking like, this cannot happen to us twice. And basically what happens, it happens to them twice. Just because you replace a manager, it doesn't mean that you're financially literate. And that is what we see again with this group. They are, their mothers, their parents are not financially literate. And once again, they're screwed again. And so they go to the manager and say, this is what we hired you for. They snapped on him. And so he basically tells them the same thing that Ronnie's uncle Wood Harris's character says, is that, look, there are things that need to be paid for. They'll eventually get paid. Let them go on this tour, and then you'll see the fruit of their labor. And basically the manager pretty much goes back and begs MCA, the record label, for money so that he doesn't have to hear them bitch and complain. And they give it to him, so the boys do get to see a little bit of money, but not as much. And then Mike actually finds out when he's riding with the producer, and he's complaining about, not receiving that much money, and the fact that if he isn't a part of this group, he really has nothing else that he can do. And the producer just reminds him, like, look, you need to learn the business. You see how you don't have any money and these execs have money. You need to learn what they're doing so that you can have money. And this is where I get the whole Otis Williams making sure the business is legit from. This is where I get it from. I get it from this part right here. It came from this part right here. He's being schooled on the business. And I think we'll see more from Mike's character. And we saw a lot tonight on Mike's character, but he's being schooled, and he was schooled. And then, he's like, the manager doesn't do anything. He is not on this record, and he's holding a record, and it says Fast Track Productions or Fast Break Productions or something like that. And he's like, "What the heck is Fast Break Production? What the heck is Fast Productions?" And so the guy says, "That's what I can't tell you what that is, Basically, that's the label that you're really on." So he goes to MCA, and that is where Tisha Campbell's husband, Dwayne Martin, comes in, and he's the record exec. And Michael asks him, like, "Hey, does what is Fast Break Productions?" And so the producer pretty much tells him, "Hey, look, you're not with MCA. You're actually signed to your manager," which doesn't make any sense at all. I think TLC was also signed to their manager, and you see what happened with that. So basically, that means that they are in control of everything, even though you also pay them to do the work for you. And so it's basically he's your boss in the end, even though you pay him to get things done. So they're supposed to be the boss. And he was letting them know, like, no, MCA, funds you guys, and MCA is over Fast Beat Productions, but really he's in charge of you guys. So Mike is learning the business, and what I love about Dwayne Martin's character is that he's brutally honest. Even though he is a snake himself, he is brutally honest about the business, and he takes it for what it is. A contract is a contract. Business is business. So, basically, Mike pretty much interrupts the manager's dinner, and basically says that he is going to be sued and to leave the group alone. So now, finally, the group is signed to MCA on their own. They'll be making their own money. They have their own contract. In the meantime, they've kicked out Bobby out of the group for his behavior. Bobby has had a baby. They tried to wash up the things that Bobby has done, doing benefit concerts for his license, for not having a license and driving. He's been dabbing in cocaine. He's just been doing everything that David Ruffin, like I said, had been doing. And one of the things that he did that was just like David Ruffin was to pretty much try to take over the show and make it more so Bobby Brown and New Edition. And you see him outperform them. You see him perform longer than he's supposed to. You see all of this stuff happen. And so, basically, before the manager leaves the group, they kick Bobby out of the group because his behavior is reckless. And even though they are childhood friends and things like that, it's affecting the business, and the business should not be affected at all. Meanwhile, Ralph has completed a whole album without New Edition. He was promised his own album. He was even given a contract through Disney, I believe, for $6 million that he declines to stay with MCA to record his own album. And basically, here comes Dwayne Martin again and lets him know, look, regardless of what you think you're going to do, what you're going to do is fulfill your contract. And your contract says that you have to stay with New Edition first. So Ralph is held to that contract as well. And then we see Dwayne Martin also talk to Bobby Brown after he gets kicked out of the group. And basically he says there's a clause in your contract that says if you get kicked out of the group, you are still able to get your own album through MCA. And so Bobby Brown, that is where Bobby Brown gets his first record label from, because of the clause that was in the group. And I'm just trying to see how that clause went into Fast Beat Productions. I'm not too sure, but evidently because MCA is at the top and then Fast Break or whatever the name of it is, it has to go that way. And so we have that. What else happens? Johnny Gill joins the group as well. And basically, Mike sets this up. This is where I'm getting at. Mike is learning how to be an exec and also kind of be a snake at the same time. He's very strategic, but very much a snake. And he brings in Johnny Gill. And Ralph doesn't know anything about Johnny Gill being in the group. And so when he's there to record the last album, he notices Johnny Gill. And they met Johnny Gill when they were doing a benefits concert on behalf of Bobby Brown, doing what he did as far as not having a license and being driving recklessly. Okay, and so Ralph is not feeling Johnny, and mainly because they said they did not tell him anything. And I love that him and Johnny Gill and Ralph Tresvant had a heart to heart, and they talked about having the voices, and they talked about, um, basically Ralph just explains to them, like, I'm just supposed to be doing this so I can have my own CD. I'm just trying to fulfill this, but it's hard because I give all that I can. I've never missed a show, and here I am. I want to do something for me, and they won't even let me do anything for me. And basically, Johnny Gill pretty much tells him, well, Dwayne Martin, the executive producer of MCA, promised me that if I do this, that I could have my own CD as well. And so they actually come to like a common ground with each other. And then you see the magic happen with Can You Stand the Rain? And that was just amazing. Like, just the vocals on that. Like, that song today would still be hot. Like, even though our music now is totally different and most of it is watered down, crappy pop music that we are listening to now, that music still hits now. And that's what I love about New Edition. That's what I love about these movies, is that you're able to go back and go, man, I remember what I was doing during this time. Man, I remember hearing this when I was younger. And I was very, very young when this came out. But in the 90s, I don't care. That song just popped. Like, that's a song that you just knew, period. And so you see the magic with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, who were geniuses. They were so cold geniuses, and they made a great album. And that was probably one of the best New Edition albums that I've ever seen. I mean, I've ever heard. One of my favorites, actually. And let me know what your favorite is as well. But that is one of my favorite albums from them. Just some little things that happened in between. Ralph Tresvant's uh, baby mother loses her child, and the mom tries to get him to come back, but he has an obligation to the group, and he always. One thing that I can say is that he keeps his word and he is committed. Rick is the same way. He keeps his word and he is very committed. And he has a beautiful voice too. Sometimes we forget that Rick has a beautiful voice. Bobby's album ends up popping a lot. They bring Ronnie's uncle back to do choreography. And basically, he's the one who cleans up the group and makes sure they remain smooth and remain okay. Um, when Bobby goes through his little issue, all the moms talk it out and they have their little moment on the phone, like, Bobby ain't shit. That was kind of bogus. And then one of the things that stuck out to me in regards to Mike is Bobby Brown was like, you always talking, but you are the least talented out of the group. And I think that is why Mike takes up being more so the business person and the leader of the group, because he is like Otis Williams. He can sing and hold a note, but he's the least talented of the group. And it's kind of funny that Johnny Gill said that, because Johnny Gill was trying to bring in a band and Mike was like, nah, we're not going to do that. And it's just kind of funny to me because he is the least talented, but he's the smartest, I think, business wise. And he knows the business. At least he's learning it. So I think that's what we'll see more so in episode 3. And what I think is that we will not hear about what happened with them in Bad Boy. I think it'll stop after they reunite or something like that. Let me know what your favorite parts of episode 2 was. I completely enjoy episode 2. I just am a little bit sad that the Bad Boys issue will not be discussed. And it always seems like whenever there's conflict with like Diddy, we never really hear what goes on with the groups. I don't know if he has a gag order or what. I look forward to hearing what's going to happen in episode 3, but I just feel like we're not going to get the real truth about what happened with Bad Boy and why we didn't get more than one album with them. But in the next episode, I really want to see what happens with Rick and Ronnie. Ronnie is so fine, y'all. He's so fine. He's so fine. I want to see what happens with Ronnie, and I want to hear what happens with each individual's solo project, and then what happens with BBD. That is what I'm looking forward to. It was a lot in episode 2, so I'm sorry that this video is so long. I'm trying to give it to you all and give it to you correct and not miss anything. So if I missed anything that stuck out to you, please leave a message below, a comment below. This is Old School Heart. Oh my God, I am loving this new edition story. Catch me again tomorrow for episode 3. Have a good night. I'll see you guys tomorrow.